Right. How you going, brother?
Good, thanks, mate. Thanks for having me on.
Nah, no worries, man. I thought, you'd be a great person to have on, and you have a few insights into things that I think people would love to hear. But first off, you've just become a dad. What's that been like?
Yeah, mate, been a real life changing experience, as you know what it's like. But you obviously go through a range of emotions when you're in that theatre room, and then obviously the baby comes out, and you get the really good feeling of the baby being healthy and things like that. But yeah, it's just changed everything in my life, really, like the mindset, and now when going back to work every day, got me little phone in the phone holder there driving to work, and you look at your son's face or something, it just gives you that extra motivation. And yeah, been a real life changing experience, and really excited and stoked about it.
Yeah, it does. Hey, I often find myself. I've got my daughter on my screensaver, and often, like, if I'm having a hard time or whatever it is, I click the lock screen and have a look at her, and
Yeah,
it gives you a good kick. Like, yeah, and yeah, how good's the feeling of coming home, seeing your kid after a day at work? Like,
yeah, that's it. Like as you said, you go through everyday stresses or whatnot, but these days you got something to sort of look forward to coming home, and
yeah,
you can sort of block it out. Whereas back in the day, I'd go home, stressful day or something, go home, you're like, still a bit down and out, but then you come home and you see your son, and then your son smiles at you or something like that. It's just amazing. So yeah, and as you said, I had a moment like that the other day where I was having a bit of a stressful day and something was going on. I think someone might have even sent me a message or something that really frustrated me, and I sort
yeah,
of finished that message, and then my son popped up on the back of the screen, and I was like, oh, so good. It just makes you feel better about a lot of things.
yeah. A lot of things are sort of irrelevant in perspective to you just got to show up for them and look after them. It's like, yeah, it's like now your whole world is different. It's like you got to be there to support them. You got to
Yeah,
be, on your A game
yeah,
all the time.
yeah.
Well, um, not not all the time, but you gotta you gotta try and be good for them.
You're in control of your own destiny and your son's really, and
Yeah,
obviously you got a family at home, and as you said, you're not just looking after yourself, but everything you do, and as the kids grow up, obviously I've only got an 8 week old, but as he grows up, you want to sort of set a good example for him, and you want them to want to be like their father as well, which
yeah,
you're exactly the same. You're going through that, so yeah, certainly everything in my life's changed, but it's changed for the better, and I'm over the moon about it. So
yeah.
every day's a gift now, so you can put a positive spin on every single day, which is
You,
great.
yeah, you can. That's a good way to look at it as well. Um, what's the past 8 weeks been like? It's what would you say, like, the defining part would be, like, compared to what you were doing before? Like, I know it's a massive change. Hey, it's
It's a massive change, and I think that you sort of talk to a lot of people when you're going through it. Like you're obviously a father before I was. You gave me a bit of advice, and you can take advice off people, but until you actually go through it, it's a totally different experience, and it's very hard, but it's so rewarding at the same time. As I said, you go through a range of emotions when you're in that theatre room and your partner's going through labour and whatnot. Then the baby comes out, everything's healthy and fine, so your sort of emotions
yeah,
drop a bit. Then you have that awesome experience, and then yeah, it's really hard work those first couple of weeks with fatigue and sleeping and things like that. But at the end of the day, it's hard, but your mind's still so excited and so
yeah,
buzzing about the whole experience. So
yeah,
you're just over the moon about it, and you get through it. And yeah, I think sort of we've hit that 8 week period now where he started smiling and things like that, and it's a roller coaster, but it's so exciting. And yeah, it's until you go through it, I don't think you can really explain it to people.
no, it's really surreal, isn't it? And you mentioned on people giving you advice. How funny is it? Like, you become a father, and everyone's got some piece of advice to give you. Like, even me, like but even, yeah, it's coming from a good place. Like most people when they're giving you advice, but yeah, until you're there,
Yep.
and yeah, you don't take on board people's advice. You're
No.
like, you're gonna do your own thing,
Yep.
and you're gonna do what you feel is the right thing to do.
I was actually saying to my partner the other day, the one piece of advice that, yeah, as you said, everyone's giving you advice before pregnancy and once you've had the child as well. And as you said, it's all coming from a good place. And the people that are giving you advice obviously care about you and want to give you that advice. So that's
Yeah,
one way to look at it as well. But I was saying to my partner the other day, probably the one piece of advice that someone gave me was what you gave me. You said, before you have the baby, spend as much time together as a couple. Just go on your dates, do your things, spend as much time as you can because once the baby's here, it's busy, 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 and
yeah,
you don't really get that sort of alone time with your partner anymore. So
no,
it doesn't take away anything, but yeah, I think that's a big one. Spend as much time with your partner as you can leading into the birth.
yeah. I was, I knew that, yeah, when I told you that was coming from a place of, yeah, it is sad, like, is, and you almost feel selfish because, in one sense, it's, you've got this miracle, you've got a baby now, and but you look back and on the time that you had with your partner, and
Yeah,
you know things were a lot easier
yeah,
then, and it was just the two of you, and you can go and do whatever you want to do,
yeah,
and it's just such a big shift, isn't
yeah.
it?
Absolutely. And another little thing is, when it was just you two or before your baby was there, my partner, if she was a little bit stressed out or whatnot, I was sort of able to comfort her and, I could really feel that she was comforted by me and
Yeah,
she liked me being there helping her out. And we'd go and do whatever if she was having a bad day. Whereas I was just thinking the other day, like if she gets a bit stressed and they obviously, as you know, the mothers work so hard through this whole experience and they've got to do a lot of work and they've carried the baby for that whole time too. Sort of noticed the other day, she was having an off day, and I thought, well, that's all right, I'll be able to go over there and comfort her and help her out. And it's just sort of not the same when the baby's there because she's
no,
worried about the baby and too, and they're not sort of getting that. They don't have that initial response straight away to you trying to help them out, and that's hard for the father as well.
yeah,
But as long as you work together and baby's healthy, and we have to allow the mums at times to take it out on us a little bit because we're the person living with them, that sort of
yeah,
thing. But yeah, 100%. And yeah, as you said, all that advice is certainly positive.
yeah, yeah. It is. Yeah, I feel the whole sleep deprivation thing as well plays a massive part in, your everyday stresses, and
Yeah.
how much easier would it be having a child if they slept all night?
Yeah, well, I was talking to my mate yesterday about this, and I was like, we were sort of, he's got two young kids, and I've got one 8 week old, and we caught up yesterday for coffee and breakfast, and he sort of said this, overnight both his kids didn't sleep very good, so they're running on 4 hours sleep, and he sort of made the comment that you just get used to not sleeping when you're a parent, which is
Yeah,
true. But then I said to him, I go, when we all didn't have kids, if I slept 4 or 5 hours, I had a shocking night's sleep. I'd go to work and I'd be like, I had a terrible night's sleep last night. It was terrible. But these
yeah,
days, if I have 4 or 5 hours sleep, I'm over the moon.
yeah,
And I think it goes down to your body. Like your body you probably don't really need that 8 or 9 hours sleep a night.
mm,
You can work off less than that, but yeah, and everyone as parents goes through different experiences. Like some kids sleep better than others, but
yeah,
definitely sleep deprivation is the biggest thing. And I think it's a big thing you realise is that sleep's a massive part of being healthy. And I've actually got sleep apnea as well, so I know firsthand when I went and got my test results done. They explained to me the whole process of which part of your body and which organs in your body actually recover during that deep sleep period in the night.
yeah,
And when I realised I wasn't getting any deep sleep because of the sleep apnea, I was like, well, shit, that's not healthy. My organs aren't getting the relaxing time they need and things like
yeah,
that. So that played a big part too. But I got that all sorted. But yeah, well, it'd be a dream result if we could all get 7 or 8 hours a night sleep. But
yeah,
you sort of just learn to learn to live with a lot less.
yeah. Unfortunately, you just have to go with it and tough it out. And yeah, I hate hearing, oh, everyone goes through it, because to me that's just dismissing what you're going through.
Yeah,
Um, and I know, like my wife, she can't handle hearing someone that has this dream baby that
yeah,
just
yeah,
sleeps every night, and
yeah,
she's like, I don't want to hear about that.
yeah,
you
yeah.
know?
Well, at the moment, I know it's hard to sort of speak about it with you guys, but our son's going pretty good at the moment with his sleeping. But I also said to my mate yesterday, like you can't get caught up in, oh, he's going pretty good at the moment. He's only 8 weeks old. Like,
Yeah.
give it 3 or 4 weeks, he might be waking up 5 or 6 times a night, you know? So,
Yeah.
but yeah, and that's, I think it's the thing with being parents. Like, you realize when you become a parent, because before you do it, you don't really think about, all this sort of stuff. But I think everyone's experience is different in a way,
Yeah.
and that's whatever's working for you is what's working for you, and what's not working is you got to try and make it better. But you know, yeah, I'm very fortunate at the moment that he's sleeping well. But I sort of understand the struggles other people are going through with the babies aren't sleeping.
Yeah. Yeah. It's definitely hard, isn't it?
Yeah,
And on top of that, you got to show up to work every day and come home, be a father.
yeah,
Make sure that you're making enough money for your family. There's so many things that um, come into it as well.
yeah.
Yeah, even if you've had a hard day at work, you still got to come home and be a good father, and
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, like I sort of said before about your advice to me beforehand, spending much time with your partner, it's goes hand in hand with that comment. Like, when you become a father and you're going through those things at home, not getting much sleep, go to work, put on the brave face, work hard, come home, spend time with you. There's not much time there for yourself,
no,
and you got to learn to deal with not having that time, which is probably one of the hardest things. I know a lot of people don't handle that, so.
yeah,
But you're right. You just got to work hard, keep going, turn up, and hope that everything stays positive.
yeah. Well, for me, when I sort of switch off, um, uh, because it is busy. It's just constant. It's it's this, it's that. It's like it's yeah. Now that you're a father, it's your life is just so much busier than it's ever been, and even it just adds so much on top of whatever you had going on from before. But yeah, for me, my downtime is either going surfing
Yep.
or going running. That's when I like switch off,
Yep.
just forget about everything else. It's not that I'm trying to forget about them. It's just because I need that
Yep.
for my mental health, where I just focus on what I'm doing. I either focus on the surfing or I focus on the running, which I'm doing at the moment.
Yep.
Is there anything like that in particular that you have where you go there?
Yeah.
Or
Absolutely. I think it's a big thing. Like you said, you have to have that. Like, I think the mother does as well, and that's where we got to step in and say, hey, like, we'll look after the baby. You go and have your hour thing, do that sort of thing. Obviously, I've got a big hobby is horse racing, and I've got
yeah,
a business in horse racing, and that takes away a lot of my time. But I'll shoot down to the stables at Kembla Grange, hang out with the horses a bit, take some videos of our horses, and do that type of thing. I like going for walks and listening to podcasts as well. A big thing I said to my partner the other day was there's a lot of tough moments when you're tired and you're fatigued, but that's when you got to really cherish those good moments, like when he's having a laugh and a giggle and laughing at you. Really cherish those parts in the moment. But yeah, myself getting out and about, horse racing, I like going out for walks. I like riding my bike and things like that. And as you said, it's not about getting away and forgetting about them. It's just getting out, clear air, clear your brain a little bit, have a bit of a think about things that you need to think about when you're not at home under the busy lifestyle of being with your family.
yeah,
And then you come home and you feel a bit better about it, and then
yeah,
you're better in that environment when you get back.
yeah,
So horse racing is a big one for me. I sort of switch off a bit with a lot of horse racing.
yeah,
That's probably my biggest passion. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. That's awesome. I feel too, if you work on yourself and you do things that you enjoy, it also then in turn can make you a better father
Uh,
because you're happier.
yeah, absolutely. You can, and a lot of people get caught up in that grind of work, family, and then all their hobbies and their sort of things they like doing, they don't find the time for.
Mm.
And that's a big thing for me. Like, I still have a full time job outside of my horse racing business, and which takes a lot of my time up. But my partner, and I'm very grateful for my partner who understands that I do have a busy work and work balance lifestyle. But she allows me to go out and do those things, and if I can go to the races, I can go down and see the horses. I can go for a walk, go for a ride. So
Yeah,
grateful for that support around too. But yeah, I think it's massive. I think it's really important.
yeah. That's the next thing I was going to ask you. What's it like juggling, especially now? You're a father, you work full time
Yeah,
as well, and you own a horse racing business as well.
yeah,
Like, yeah, you're a busy man.
yeah.
You must be. extremely passionate about your business to be able to work full time and also do that
Yeah,
on
well,
top.
that's probably the one thing that I'd say to someone who wants to start a business. If you got to be really passionate about it, and that's the thing with me and my horse racing. Like, I've got the full time job. I'm a foreman for an electrical company in the steelworks, and I'm very lucky there to work with a great group of people too. And I work for a great company, so that's great. And then the horse racing business obviously takes up a lot of time on the side. I'll be down at Kembla Grange in the morning before I start work, sometimes in the afternoon. But then there's studying the horse racing, doing form, and it's sort of takes up a lot of my time. But when I'm doing the horse side of things, it doesn't feel like work to me.
Yeah,
It's passion. I absolutely love it. And some of the guys at work say, "How do you get down to Kembla at 4 o'clock before work?" I can't wait to get out of bed in the morning, put my shirt on, get down there before work, and then
yeah,
and then go to work. Like, it's a passion, and I suppose when you got that and you know that you love it so much, it's easy.
yeah,
And in terms of balancing the time, sort of do 8 or 9 hour days at work as an electrician, and then come home in the afternoon, and sort of Danny Lee, my partner, she's very good at understanding that when I come home from work, it's probably another 2 or 3 hours I need to add on to just doing horse stuff, and then night time switch off,
yeah,
family time, that sort of thing. But obviously, when you got your son there as well and balancing that and help your partner out, it gets pretty busy. But yeah, grateful for all the support around me, and as you said, if it's a passion, it's a business, but it's a passion, and I absolutely love it, so it doesn't feel like work.
yeah. It feels easier because the love that you have for it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, how long ago did you start your horse racing business?
So Triple J Racing, we became a business middle of 2022, so a couple of years back. But when I first started Triple J Racing, it was actually never at the top of my mind to actually become a business
Yeah,
or become a syndication business. It was more about creating a community, especially down here in the Illawarra area. There's a lot of racing fans, but there wasn't really anyone sort of having that community vibe where you can get like-minded people, go to the races, get some groups online in WhatsApp and things like that, and talk about the races on the weekend, catch up for social events like beers and having punters clubs, things like that. So that was the initial plan with Triple J Racing. But then, sort of just the more it evolved and the more time that went into it, we kept growing. And then I was lucky enough to have a good mate of mine, lifelong friend of mine, who wanted to go 50-50 and actually get now licensed. So we're licensed now to buy and sell shares in racehorses, which is a yearly fee, and you sort of got to be, you know, sort of, there's contracts and stuff you got to follow and things like that. But as I said, yeah, when I first started, I never had that intention, but we've been doing that now for 2 or 3 years, and I think one thing a lot of people don't realise is we're taking on these companies similar to Triple J Racing, same brand, very successful up in Sydney, and they'll go to a sale and buy 3 or 4 $300,000-$400,000 yearlings, and we're
yeah,
trying to be really, we have to be, because we just put a bit of money in together, our hard-earned savings. So our first horse was 30,000. I think our first 5 or 6 horses were around $30,000.
yeah,
They might have gone successful and won sort of 60,000-90,000 and been okay. Some weren't so good, but we're taking on the big dogs, I suppose,
yeah,
is what I tell people. But we're growing and growing. We're getting closer to catching up.
yeah,
But yeah, so the syndication business has been around for about 3 years, and we've got 20 horses on the books now. So
yeah. That's
that's pretty
awesome.
exciting. Yeah.
Yeah, it's growing. Uh, how far off do you feel you are from that becoming your full time gig?
I still think it's a fair way off, and the reason is, I mean, I think it's what's smart about me and my business partner have done. We both work full time. We both have kids now, but we both sort of do this on the side,
Yeah,
and we just have made sure the whole way through that we haven't, put too many eggs into the basket and thrown it all in, and it's make or break for us. So it's
yeah,
sort of a side business. I think we are getting very close to, sort of breaking through and having that opportunity to go closer to full time.
yep,
But obviously, at the same time, our job security away from the racing game is very high.
yeah,
Other jobs, and when you've got a family there behind you, that's number one.
yeah,
But when we first started Triple J Racing, as I said, we were buying horses around that $30,000 mark, and just then in January this year, we purchased one for 160 and another one for 60. So
yeah. Wow.
that was a positive moment for me, because it's sort of, I looked back and went, well, and obviously as a business, we buy those horses and we bring clients in. So
Yeah,
we sell 5%, 10% shares.
yeah,
But it was just a really good moment for me to realise that, righto, we've got owners on board that, didn't know who Triple J Racing was 4 years ago, and now they're willing to pay fair amount of money to have a share in those horses.
Yeah.
And I was backing the logo, backing our brand that we've created to sell shares in those horses, and we've sold a lot of shares in them. So yeah, that was a real good moment. It just shows sort of we're trending in the right direction. We've got to keep it up. And I think my biggest thing with that business, obviously, you're talking to clients all the time, and you're selling people racehorses, so you can be a real used car salesman type of person, which is not my style.
Yeah.
I'm not that type of person.
You're trying to tell them all the features of this
Yeah.
horse. Like,
Yeah, well, you have to, because you're talking about horses' pedigree and that, and you have to sell the horse.
Yeah.
But my biggest thing with the whole journey has been honesty and transparency and being transparent about everything. And, I suppose not bullshitting to anyone. And I think it's working for us, and we just got to keep going. But I'd say if we keep trending the way we're going at the moment, I'm hoping to be around 30 or 40 horses in maybe another 18 to 24 months.
Yeah.
And we'll go from there.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. No, it's growing well. And with just on the topic of your job security and all that, and you're probably making decent money, but yeah, like the difference is with like your business and the job that you're working full time now is like could be the difference between making like good money and making like really good money where you set your family up for the rest of their lives, or but yeah, it's obviously it's growing and it's working for you. Yeah. uh, your focus on the business is like mind blowing to me, just how you can work. I'm heading in that direction myself. Like this is becoming my business. I'm becoming my business and focusing on myself and trying to. So like a lot of people think like I've just started a podcast. But it's not just that. It's like I'm working on myself as a person.
100%.
Like I'm reading I never read before. I'm constantly listening to podcasts. I'm working on my mental health, always my fitness. It's everything. And so like that's what I'm putting into, to be able to do this is I want to be it's like, I want to speak to interesting people like yourself, but I also want to be interesting myself, and I want to be able to have an intellectual conversation with people rather than just general chit chat or whatever it is, and be able to really find out the person who I'm talking to.
What you're doing is fantastic, and obviously, you're the type of guy that can push yourself to the limits, and you've been, as everyone's going to learn from your experience going through this journey, and the more you post up and things like that, you've done a great job to get to where you are today. And I think on that note, when I first started Triple J Racing, I spoke to my old man. He's probably my best mate in the world. About this is what I want to do and sort of the risks and things like that. And I do have that. I definitely do have that persona of jumping into things and going 100 mile an hour. And he was like, mate, just slow down, And I ended up going and meeting up with a business advisor, and he said to me, I forget the proper figure, so just don't quote me on the percentage, but I think it was something like 25% of small businesses fail in the first year because they want to be at year 5 after year 1. And that's always resonated with me, and I remember that from the start. And we've sort of, there's times where I just think, I want to just jump in and buy another one and do this and do that, but you got to be careful. And as you said, with the time and things like that, like my partner will vouch for it. When you start a business like Triple J Racing, like I want Triple J Racing is my life. I think about it 24/7. My boss, my boss in the electrical company probably won't be happy me saying it, but I think it's on my mind all day long, and that's when right, this is what I want to do, And it probably, when I before I started Triple J Racing, I probably didn't have that sort of thing in my life that was taking up all that energy, and I felt like I was using a lot of my energy on other things. I'd just finish the work week, it'd be like, well, where am I going to go watch the footy tonight? A few beers, things like that. Because now I'm just so busy in those other things. So, yeah, but it's been awesome, and yeah, that quote from the business advisor is just something I've never forgotten and never wavered, and that's what I'd tell people if you want to start a business, you got to be passionate about it, and even if you're an electrician and you're a great electrician, you want to start your own business. A lot of people think I want to start my own business and not work for someone else.
Yeah,
It's going to be way harder for you to start your own business mentally because it's a 24-hour job. The pressure's on you.
yeah,
You've got to go out and chase the work. You've got to do everything. So you've either got that or you don't have it. But importantly, you've got to be passionate and you've got to want to make it and you've got to go through the hard times and you've got to just do it slowly, I suppose.
yeah, yeah. It's not always going to be sunshine and rainbows when you're going out doing something that you really want to do. Yeah, it's funny you talking about the statistic of people starting their own business and who's going to make it. Yeah, I was listening to a podcast and they said, I forget the percentage, but it was like majority of podcasters don't even get to 10
Yeah.
podcasts. And so the way I seen that is okay, there's thousands of people doing podcasts, but majority of them aren't even doing 10 podcasts.
Yep. Yep.
This is my third one, and I've got plenty of people like booked in
Yep.
to make sure I'm going to get at least 10.
Yep.
So, yeah, I want to stay consistent with that, like as you've been with your business. And yeah, yeah, you got to put the hard work in.
You're a perfect example. You've done 3 podcasts. You haven't posted any online at the moment.
Yeah.
You've got plenty lined up, so you're planning ahead.
Yeah.
Whereas a lot of people have that mindset. And I used to have it. I honestly used to have it. I'd do one podcast and I'd want that on the platform tomorrow.
Yeah.
I'd want people to be, all right, I've done my podcast. I want people to see it.
You'd want the 100,000 views straight
Exactly
away.
right.
Yeah. You like checking.
Yeah, and it's just a slow burn. And if you keep doing it, then people will take it serious. So, and on that note as well, like I've had sort of people in the past, and they will sort of say, oh, Triple J Racing, like you guys are killing. How'd you get there? Or they sort of comments like, well, actually, someone made a comment to me one day about, look, all you do is put tips up online, and you bought a couple of horses and sold shares, and it's going really good and whatnot. And I just thought to myself, yeah, but nah, mate, like it's been very hard work, like,
yeah,
and for to be honest, we haven't paid me and my business partner. We don't pay each other a wage at the moment. The money we put a pool of money in together to buy our first horse. And then you sort of keep going and you slowly sort of generating a little bit of money, and then we just keep reinvesting that money.
Yeah.
So in terms of my family life and personal life, we haven't paid each other a wage since the day we started. We still haven't, because we both got that mindset of let's just grow and grow and grow.
Yeah.
And then we're not where we want to be, and I don't think we will be where we want to be unless we still keep going the way we're going, probably for another 7 years, which will get us to the 10-year mark.
Yeah.
Which will make me a 40-year-old bloke.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't want to be successful at 40. They want to be successful today.
Yeah.
So, but if you're enjoying it like I am, as I said, it's not hard work at all. It's enjoyable.
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah. Yeah. A lot of people think it's just going to happen overnight, and I think that's a great mindset that you have of you're investing in your business and yourself rather than just trying to reap the rewards straight away.
Yeah.
Which you could do, like you could be taking money from it, but then your growth is going to be really slow.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I was even, really umming and ahhing about spending money on equipment, and I didn't lash out and spend heaps of money on equipment, but even then I was like, having doubts in my head. Well, like what if I spend this money and it doesn't work out?
Yeah.
But yeah, you can't think like that.
Yeah, there's a middle line there. Like a lot of people sort of when they get their older years, they say, "I really wish I did that," and "I really wish I did that." And you can sort of live on the line, or you can go above the line and risk things. But with yourself and podcasting and your journey, showing people what you've been through and where you're going is, for you to have a crack at that, you got to do that. Spend the money and have a bit of a go, and you'll never regret it if you're as passionate as what you are about what you're doing.
Yeah,
you'll never regret it. If there are people out there that I know people personally that have wanted to start a business because they want money.
Yeah,
they don't want. It's not they want to work or whatever. They just want. How do you make money easy? Well, it doesn't work like that. And
No.
and people that are successful in business have worked hard. You don't see it. You see a successful business guy driving around in a Mercedes or a nice BMW or an Audi or whatever they got, whatnot. He's worked hard to get that
Yeah.
most of the time.
Yeah.
Most of the time.
Yeah. You don't see all the behind the scenes of yeah, all the hard work, all the countless hours. You
Yeah.
know, you have to be relentless with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Behind what people don't see when you're behind closed doors in your office, working away and ticking your brain over what am I going to do next,
Yeah.
all that sort of stuff. And then most businessmen that have made it to the big times, I'm sure they put a bit of money on the line at some point to try and make it,
Yeah.
and it could have potentially even been make or break for them, but they were prepared and done all the groundwork to get to that level, so that when they did it, it was mostly going to work.
Yeah. Yeah. Have you always had that business mindset, like you wanted to start your own business, or was it something that just came up when you found the love for horse racing?
Definitely just came up when I found my love of horse racing
Yeah.
because even with my electrical career in the steelworks, I started there when I was 16. I worked for one company for 9 or 10 years. Now I'm at another one for 7. But even when I started there, I never really wanted to be team leader or a foreman or potentially go up to supervisor. But that opportunity sort of came up for me to go to team leader at some point, and even then, I sort of thought, well, yeah, okay, like I like working with the guys, I'll do that. And now now that my life changed a little bit, and I'm a father, and got that, I'm extremely glad that I did want to go in that direction.
Yeah.
But no, horse racing, and that's why I'm really stoked about Triple J racing. Horse racing, I just found it. I found it. That was my passion. When I was a kid, I used to get dropped off by my parents to my grandfather's place, Nan and Pop's place, every Saturday, and he'd be sitting there with paperwork all over the desk, and he'd have the races on, and then when the races finished, the footy would be on, the paper would change. He was playing NRL fantasy at the time in his later years. It wouldn't be like it is today, but
Yeah.
and that's what got me into it. But yeah, never ever thought about a business. Would never have started an electrical business until I was in the racing, and now it's just all worked for me because I'm passionate about it and I just want to do it.
Yeah.
So I know I didn't always have a business mindset, but I've definitely got it now, and I'm loving the journey and can't wait to keep growing.
Yeah. That's awesome. Um, have you have you lost friends from like what you're doing now? Like you really focused on your business and building that and everything, and um, yeah, in a sense, they can't understand your mindset towards that and how busy you are and how much you want that. So they've sort of drifted apart.
Yeah, certainly. I'm not sure I'd say I've lost friends, but you sort of lose. You don't speak to them as much and things like that. But obviously, when your time's taken up from other things, and it happens when you become a father as well.
Yeah.
Those sort of mates that you saw all the time. I'm very lucky. I've got a really good close group of friends that we all sort of support each other, and I'm very grateful for that.
Yeah.
But there are certainly has been times with Triple J Racing where when you're first off and you're starting to grow,
Yeah.
you obviously want that. Your business isn't out there, your logo's not out there. You're working hard to get it out there, so you want your group of friends that can see you working hard to help you get that brand out there.
Yeah.
And I did have a couple of events back in the day where I really wanted, a good chunk of my friends to come just to boost the numbers and things like that. And there was occasions where I was disappointed by, it's just because at that time we were always every second Saturday we'd be at the local having a couple of beers, doing something,
Yeah.
and then I'd have an event on a Saturday, and was really disappointed by the numbers of those guys turning up. But as I got through that period, I sort of realised too, they're just because they're my mates doesn't mean they're going to be right into horse racing, and they might not want
Yeah.
to be there and that. But I understand completely what you're saying, and yeah, there have been times where I've sort of thought a couple of my mates could have helped me out a little bit there. Yeah, but
Yeah.
it's tough. It's tough.
It is. Yeah. They just have different priorities, and yeah, I feel that there has been a few of my friends since I've changed my life a bit and changed my focus on things. We've sort of drifted away. Um, yeah, it's not because
Yeah,
for any bad reason, but yeah, just different priorities. I think.
it's and you've obviously got a strong mindset and real passionate about this. But if other people,
Mm,
and your mates don't have that, they can sort of see what you're doing and think, oh, well, it's not their thing.
yeah.
And I actually have groups with my mates that aren't into horse racing. If they want to ask me how it's all going, or we're having a beer on the weekend and they say, "How's it going?" I like to keep the chat real general.
Yeah.
Just, yeah, it's going good, mate. And the reason is because, like I said, they don't understand, and they don't. If someone makes a little comment about, oh, you're killing it or whatever, or you this that, well, you're telling me I'm killing it because of what you're seeing on social media, and
Yeah.
we look like we're killing it, but deep down that's not always the case.
Yeah.
And I might have had a stressful week where something's gone wrong with the horse, whatever. So I like to keep it real general, but yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny too, like some of the conversations you have with your friends as well, because your friends don't always have that filter of, they sort of just say whatever they think.
Yeah, yeah,
And I'm reading a book at the moment called The 4 Hour Work Week, and I just recently I spoke about that to someone, and they're like, "The 4 hour work week? What? You're only going to work 4 hours a week?" It's
yeah,
like
yeah,
we've just been like put into our heads since like school, high school, whatever it is, that you go and you work like a minimum of 40 hours a week. You go and get a job 9 to 5, 7 till 3:30, whatever it is. Like this is the norm.
yep,
And yeah, when you have a shift in mindset of you're business orientated, or you're trying to get your goals or whatever, and some of your friends, if they're not on the same path, they're like, who do you think you are, bro? It's like, I know who you are. But like, well, no, you don't,
yep,
because I'm a different person to what I was back then.
yep,
And everyone's always changing. It's like, do you really want to be the exact same person your whole entire life,
yep,
where you're not striving for anything,
yep.
or you're not setting goals, or whatever it is? But yeah, it's just funny, like when you see your mates' perspective on things.
Yep. Well,
Yeah,
I know you're gonna ask me what my favorite quote is or whatever
yeah,
along this podcast, but I was listening to one the other day where it said, if you change the way you look at things, the things you're looking at will change as well.
yeah,
And I know that a lot of people will be thinking in their head, "Oh, what does that mean?" But I've sort of realised over the last couple of years, and my life's changed dramatically. Like I'm a different person now at 32 than I was at 25,
yeah,
and I sort of, I'm very lucky now with my partner Danny Lee and my son and family, and also my parents and the support network I've got around me, just with everyday life, not business, everything. But I look at everything in a positive manner now.
yeah,
Where I had times when I was sort of probably 20 all the way up to 27, 28, where I was looking at it, a lot of things negatively. And
yeah,
I want that to be better. I want this to be better. And even just on myself, I was sort of really down and out on myself and my body. And it's funny, is I tell people now, I used to play soccer, played all the way through the Wolves system up to first grade, and then played Premier League soccer.
yeah,
Was paid a couple of dollars to play for a few years, and I hated my body back then.
yeah,
But I'm probably 20 kilos. I'll be 20, 22 kilos heavier now than what I was then.
yeah,
And I see photos of myself back then, and I think, you hated yourself back then, mate. But it
yeah,
was my confidence, my mindset was so poor. And now,
yeah,
don't get me wrong, I'm not proud that I'm 22 kilos heavier, but what I'm saying is my mindset. I'm positive about everything now. I'm looking at stuff and I'm going, that's good. And the glass half full, you can look at a glass, think it's half full or it's half empty. And it just really resonates with me and everything now. And I just always look on the bright side of life, and it's so good.
yeah. Yeah, that's a great way to look at it. It is, everything is just in perspective and how you look at things, because it could be like, it could be anything. It's life is how you look at it.
Yep.
So if you're focusing on the negatives, then that's all you're going to see.
Yep.
If I struggle with it too, I really do. Yeah, but if you're focusing on all the positives in your life, like if you're really looking for it, you've probably got a lot going on for you in
Yep.
your life that are great things.
Yep.
And yeah, a lot of people are just wired that way, and you get stuck in a rut of thinking like that. Um, yeah, I've had many years in my life where I was really struggling and I was down, and just stuck in that rut and couldn't find a way out. And it's not until recently where I feel in myself that I'm a lot stronger. I'm a lot more positive. I really look for the good in people now, where before, yeah, I was just constantly like, like just looking at people, and really let it eat away at me if someone's being an asshole or whatever, like
Yep, yep,
where now I'm like, okay, well, like all that negativity is a reflection of themselves.
yep.
And yeah, think like within myself too, like, yeah, when I was so negative and whatever, it's because that's all I was looking for.
Yeah, that's right. And when you've, as you said, you've picked up that positive mindset too. And it doesn't matter when you do it. Like I sort of have been down and out on myself a little bit now because of I'll think back to those times that I was talking about, and I'll be like frustrated that maybe over those 7 or 8 years, or when I say 20 to 25, I mean like all the way through from 15 up. But I'm saying like I wish I had my mindset I had now back then because I
Yeah.
would have been so much. I would have enjoyed it so much more. I would have really, but you can't think like that. I'm
No.
grateful that I'm in the position I am now. My mindset's in the position it is now, and I always used to think to myself, there's always in a group of friends, or say in a 30 to 40 people group, there's always probably 4 or 5 of them that just seem like they're happy all the time.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what happens, negative, positive, whatever. They're happy, and I wish, but that's just the reality is that not everyone has that. It's hard to
No.
have, and you got to. I think you got to train. I think you got to just work and try and turn your mind into thinking that's positive.
Yeah.
And when you do your whole life changes, and yeah, I think it's definitely happened for both myself and yourself, and yeah, you're doing great things. So it's
Yeah.
great.
Thank you. You too, bro. Um, and on that as well, you're saying like who you're hanging around, like that. I find myself now, like I just want to hang out with my mates that are really positive
Yeah,
people, and these really happy people. And it's like the saying too, like if you hang around five broke people, you're going to be the sixth broke person.
yep,
If you hang around five negative people, you're going to be the sixth negative person.
yep,
But if you hang around five happy people, you're going to be the sixth happy person. And it does work like that because, yeah, people don't realize how much like time you're spending around like certain people. You
yep,
become a lot like them.
yep.
So yeah, it's a definite yeah, it's a must that you hang around
I remember.
good people.
I remember when I was first, because I started Triple J Racing, as I said, to build that community, and I was putting stuff on social media and tips and whatever, and I was really passionate about my form, and my tips were going good, and we are getting a lot of results. So people start following your page, and they want the horse tips and who's this bloke and what's going on and all that. And then when I wanted to start a business and become a syndicator, I told Dad I want to get into ownership and do this, and he was really big on, well, you really need a business partner to do this. It's a lot of work. You need a bit of money. You need help. And he was really big on picking the right person for that. And
Yeah,
there was a handful of people that said, well, I'd jump in and do that. And I remember just having the discussion with him one day, and he sort of said, I know the perfect person for it, which is my mate Benny
yeah,
McGuinness. He's my business partner. And I think he was 100% right on that call. And obviously, I knew it was the right call too. I've known Benny most of my life, and we're very close and been through some tough times together, been through good times. But Benny's got that mindset that I've got.
yeah,
He wants us to make it, and if we don't make it, or when times get tough, I can sort of get a bit flustered and stressed, and he's positive.
yeah,
That's all right, mate. We'll get through this period. That's all right. Don't worry about that. All good, and I'm very grateful for that. So Benny's been great, but yeah, and like you said, if you're around positive people, that lifts me up. If my
yeah,
business partner's positive about it, oh right, we can get through this. It's
yeah,
all good, and it is. It's the same with your everyday life. People you hang around, people can lift you, people can bring you down. So yeah, I reckon that point is absolutely spot on.
yeah, yeah. It's definitely true. You got to surround yourself with good people.
Yeah,
If you want to be a good person
and
as well. And
we've got a group of our mates that aren't involved in Triple J racing. They're not financially involved. They might have a small share in a horse or two, but every time we put something up, they share it. They come down, and those people lift me as well
yeah,
because they again, or one of our horses wins, a couple of mates on the message, 10 messages, or I just think how good is that? They're not even involved, and I'm ecstatic as it is because we just won a race, but then. Yeah, you get that support off your mates who aren't really involved, but they're just involved because they like us and they're mates with
yeah,
us, and it
yeah.
just lifts your heaps. It's great.
It is. It's really good to have support. And like you're going to do it anyway. You're going to do your business anyway. You're going to show up for yourself. You're going to keep working hard. But yeah, when, like a good friend of yours or your family and they say to you, like you're doing really well, mate. Like keep it up, keep going. Like you're doing
Yeah.
great. Like, yeah, it is really nice to hear.
Yeah.
Um,
And I've got my old man. It's funny how I was sort of telling you before. I used to get dropped off at my pop's house, and he was right into his horse racing. He was a bit of a punter as well, and also pretty successful at what he did. And then my father, which is obviously his son, not involved, wouldn't gamble $5, not into horse racing, not into, just complete opposite of what my pop was into. And then
yeah,
obviously I've got it, so I sort of see it as like the second generation.
yeah,
And then my pop was also a diabetic, and I'm a diabetic,
yeah,
and he was my best mate in the whole world, my pop. But my father, just being a great father and supporting me, was never, as I say, never into horse racing. And when I wanted to start a horse racing business, he was sort of a little bit like, I know that you're passionate about it, and he was really happy for me to go for it, and wanted me to go for it. But he doesn't know the horse racing game, so he can't help me in the inside stuff. But he watches every one of my horses run, and he'll send me a message. He'll look at it a bit differently, and he doesn't understand the tactics of horse racing, things like that. But
yeah,
it fills me with such satisfaction knowing that, all right, I've got a horse race and he's going to watch it.
yeah,
Even though he's not into it, he doesn't gamble, he won't put $10 on it. Money doesn't matter. It's just, oh, my son's got a horse race and I'm going to watch it.
yeah,
And that's something that I haven't even told him that, but it's just such a great feeling.
yeah.
It goes back to
Maybe you
sport
should
around me.
tell him. It's
Yeah, I'll show him the
he'd
podcast.
he'd love that. Yeah,
Yeah,
you'll have to get him to have a listen.
yeah,
Yeah, how good is it having the support from your father? And I was really nervous to tell my dad that I wanted to start a podcast because my dad, my dad's a hard worker, but he's done the same job his whole life.
yep,
He's been at Blue Scope Steel his whole entire life, and I was, yeah, like I've done the same career for about 10 years now. And I was nervous to tell him, like, look, Dad, I want to start a podcast because of what he's done in his life. He stayed in the same job. He's a hard worker. He's a very
yeah,
loyal man to the company. And yeah, so I was nervous to tell him. I called him up. I said, Dad, I want to talk to you about something. He goes, yeah, what is it? I said, I want to start a podcast.
yep.
He's like, good, go for it. I was like, fuck, Dad, like,
Yeah,
I didn't think you'd say that. He's like, why not? He goes, what's the risk?
exactly
I
right.
said, well, might not work out. He said, yeah, that's it. He
That's
said,
right.
I can't see any risks in that.
Yeah,
He said, why not? Go for it. If it's what you want to do, go for it.
yeah.
And yeah, just having that support from your father is, to me, the biggest thing.
It's massive.
Um,
It's massive. And like you said, your old man's a great person and hardworking, and my old man was the same. And I think I said to your old man recently, obviously people listening to the podcast might not know how we know each other, but I said to your old man, yeah, on Father's Day actually, I said to him, because obviously Danny Lee was pregnant, and I said to him, I just want my son one day to look up to me like I do my old man.
yeah,
And you're the same. I know your old man's massive in your mind and things like that. And I just said that to him. And I think he was actually at the time he was watching you surfing,
yeah,
and he sort of had a couple of tears in the eye. And I thought to myself, fuck, like, sorry if I'm swearing on the podcast as well, but
no, you're,
um, but yeah, and I think, and that's what we've all got, sort of that same sort of thing going, Yeah, it's massive father, and now we're fathers ourselves. So
yeah, you just want your kid to
yeah,
look up to you like we look up to our fathers.
spot on. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly right.
that's
Yeah.
a huge thing. Just on the last question, I'm gonna ask every person that comes on here.
Yeah.
What is your favorite quote or piece of advice that you've ever been given?
So, favorite quote I mentioned before was that one. If you change the way you're looking at things, the way that it's looking back at you will change, which is that positive mindset type of thing.
Yeah,
But piece of advice, as I said before, if you just got to find what your passion is, and if you want to start a business, don't be afraid to do it, and work hard. Like, it's hard work. You can't get to where you want to be in 2 weeks. It's a long time. And, if you work hard at it and you're passionate about it, then things will come easy.
yeah,
And, sort of horse racing too. Like, I was 20, probably 24 when I was always into it. I was always watching horse racing my whole life. because I was at my pop's house, and then when I was 18, I was obviously old enough to gamble.
Yeah.
And that's another thing I've been really smart at because of my old man supporting me is just money. Money's money. You can't just gamble because you like gambling.
Yeah.
So
Got to be smart about it in a
yeah,
way.
even
Yeah.
though I've loved horse racing my whole life, I've never lost a lot of money gambling. I'm
Yeah.
smart with that. But I've always had that passion, but then I never really even attempted to do anything with that until I was probably 25 or 26. Maybe the ball started rolling, and then now we're in a business. But yeah, piece of advice is if you want to start a business, just work hard and find your passion. Because if you're trying to work hard and push a business that you're not passionate about, then it's going to be hard because it's a 24/7 thing and it's more mental than physical.
Yeah.
It's not about going to work. It's just it doesn't leave your mind because So that'd be about it, mate. But I really appreciate the chat.
That's awesome. I really appreciate it. Thanks so much for coming on. It's been a good chat. We'll, I'm sure I'll have to get you back on here in the future, man, when
Yep.
you're up there with the gay Waterhouses and all the rest of it. But really appreciate you for coming on.
Thanks, mate. Really appreciate it, and looking forward to all these podcasts you got lined up, getting onto the platform and people having a listen. So thanks a lot.
Thank you.